Hi, my name is Camille McMillan. By this time, the world has seen the Chrysler workers boozing and drugging their lunch. I want to share my story with you about General Motors. I am a journeyman electrician afflicted with multiple sclerosis. I am not affirmative action. The MS was under the control until my work conditions exacerbated it. Well, these Chrysler workers had nothing on the GM workers I worked with, and management also boosted up. I worked at the GM Pontiac Truck Group in Michigan. Workers came to work high or boozed and drugged it up during their lunch hour and on the job. While they were under the influence, they would threaten my life. They were punching each other's time cards in and out, and I refused to help cover for them while they were defrauding the company. GM's management knew and did nothing. Once one of the drugged electricians came into my area, blocking my exit, raging at me. His fists were clenched, and he was beet red as he raged in my face. My supervisor was sitting in my area watching this. What did he do? He looked at him, he looked at me, he jumped up and ran out of my area, leaving me alone to deal with this drugged, drunk, volatile man. You could smell the alcohol and marijuana on him. I also believe he had been snorting cocaine, which is his drug of choice. His eyes were huge and glassy. The production workers saw him and signaled to me to see if I needed help. I did have a hammer in my pocket that I was going to have to hit him with to save my life. Seeing the production workers, the men, the electrician ran out of my area because he was afraid to confront men. This individual often came to work totally buzzed up and slept most of his shift with management's full knowledge. He had the superintendents to protect him. He spent his wait time stalking me through the plant and threatening me. He did things like this to me. Or, that is a threat. General Motors executives knew and did nothing. They allowed these guys full range to hunt and torment me, and they did, and they enjoyed it. I felt like a deer, and it was open season on me. Eventually, the abuse from the drug workers and management caused me to leave my job to save my life. I had been invited to a blanket party. People are under the impression that union workers can't be fired. It is a myth. One of the shop rules is reporting to work in an unsafe condition, which you can be disciplined for. Management often allowed these workers to drive home in an unsafe condition, knowing they were putting innocent drivers at risk. My union protected the mill workers because they have friends in the higher parts of the union. They did nothing to assist me, although I pay union dues also. Michigan courts and elected officials protected GM. One judge lied so much, I'm surprised her nose has not extended to Florida. GM received a government bailout while shoving the Constitution down the throats of his workers. Those are future YouTubes. I'm surprised this story made it to the media. All of our local media ignored me and others. They were afraid to go against the great GM. TV producers, I have the rights to my own book. If anybody's interested, this will make a great miniseries. A lot of information that I have is still not in the book. I have much more that's not in the book. Now let's take a look at some of the people that I wrote to. When a lot of these things were going on, I did everything I could. I reached out for the help I should have received, and I received none. Look at all these post office return receipt cards. Over the years, I've seen everything post office return receipt. Now, here are some of the people I wrote to. Oprah Winfrey, Scott Lewis of Channel 2 News, and they are the ones that broke the story. USA Today, Reverend Wendell Anthony of the Detroit branch of the NAACP. Here was my congressman at the time, Sander Levin. Oh my goodness, General Motors Vice Presidents, Gerald Connecto. I addressed a letter I wrote to him. Whatever he calls his last name, Connecto, whatever. Here he is. Mr. Guy Briggs, also a General Motors Vice President. And he was in charge of my plant. And Gary Cowger, who was in charge of labor relations. They're all vice presidents at General Motors. None of them did a thing to help, and they let these guys do what they were doing. Now, here is my book. It's titled Surviving General Motors with Multiple Sclerosis and Corruption in the Michigan Judicial System. One of the memos that was used to deny one of my claims is in the book. The judge that had that memo turned it around completely. That's another YouTube. And this is some of the abuse I had to endure on the job. Why do I have to go to work and have this stuff in my locker? And these guys put it in there and they laughed about it, and so did management. So, when you're thinking about how bad the auto workers are, first of all, it's only a handful. Second of all, the management has the right to discipline, and they do it every day. That myth that union workers cannot be fired, it is a myth. And you have to have some control at your place of employment. When you work at an auto industry, in the auto industry, there are a lot of dangerous areas there. Believe me, I experienced them, and I will have more on that later. There were a lot of safety violations at my plant. The management knew, and they allowed it. Thank you, and look for my future YouTubes. They will be out in within the next couple months. Thank you.